One. What is up, ladies and gentlemen? As always, a pleasure to be your host, Diego Galvez. It's always accompanied by my boy, Chris Jones. Oh, yeah, baby. Episode 20, season 2. Oh, yeah, to the most of you beautiful, mother-loving soccer fans out there. It's a beautiful day here in Boston. It is March 30th, about 6:30 in the afternoon. Beautiful spring-like weather here in the city. Opening day for the Red Sox. Go Red Sox. Opening day for a lot of Major League Baseball teams in the league right now. So good luck to all of you. Whatever you support, good luck to them all. For us here in Boston, good luck to the Red Sox. That's just who we love here. Episode 20. Boy, do we got a lot to talk about. Season 2, and it just keeps getting more and more interesting. First and foremost, just like to give a huge thank you for all of you for your support. Been noticing a lot, all of you guys supporting us on YouTube, supporting us a little bit more on Spotify, on TikTok, on Twitter, seeing a little bit of engagement from you guys. Really appreciate all of you. We try every week to put out the best content we can, and truly appreciate all of your support. We wouldn't be here without the support of some of the networks we worked for. Shout out to Couch Guy Sports, who we started with. Shout out to Student Union Sports, who we're now partnered with. Great company to be with at all. Amazing content, by the way. I don't know if you guys have followed up with Student Union Sports, but the content that has come out of there for March Madness has been incredible. So shout out to them boys. Shout out to Liam Smith running an amazing website. And shout out to us, season 20, episode 2. This is basically the 220th episode. No, 120th episode at this point. It's just absolutely nuts. Way too much content going on here. Way too many episodes with this guy. He's just laughing at my senile moments that I keep having. It's
season 20, episode 2, baby. Let's go.
Season what happens 20, when you get old.
2.
So, with that said, let's talk. We got Premier League coming back. We saw a nice little international break. Some countries looking real good. Some countries not so good. Some countries looking to take the off season and upgrade on some of their areas. And just some countries that just need a little bit of more maintenance just to sharpen up their tools. But the Premier League is back. Got a lot of action happening. A lot to unwind within just 1 month left, basically one and a half months left of action in the Premier League. So let's dive right into that. Our records, just to update our fans out there: 136, 127 for me, 126 to 137 for Mr. Jones. Mr. Jones will be taking this week, hoping to redeem himself, get back in the winning stages of things. But overall, for both of us, still above 50%, with a lot of games to still go.
Only you.
Well, overall, on our records, overall, looks pretty darn good for us. So, with that said, let's dive into the slate of things. Mr. Jones, want to run us through it?
Before we do that, I think before we talk about everything that happened or everything that's coming up this week in the Prem, we should be talking about things that happened in the Prem that it was shocking to say the least, like Antonio Conte and Tottenham mutually agreeing to part ways.
Yep.
I think that needs to be discussed about more. Who do you think is the problem there? Do you think it's Dan Levy, or do you think Antonio Conte had some stuff that he was like, I think I'm all right?
No, I think the problem there is exactly what Antonio Conte said on his last interview there. You got the worst storm brewing in Tottenham. Number one, ownership. It's an ownership that's not committed to the club in itself. It's committed to its own investments, making sure that everything is as profitable as possible to maintain their profit lines above of what they report. Number two, you got a lot of investigations going on within the team. As we both know now, Fabio Paratici is in seriously troubled waters with FIFA right now, to the point that he's banned. And Tottenham is now looking to understand how deep is the ban. Do they need to fire him and let him go? Do they need to replace him? Are they allowed to keep him? or what else do they do? And on top of that, you got players in that locker room that are selfish. They do not play to care for a season. They play only to play, to keep their relevance up, to maintain a payroll going to them on a weekly basis, but not, they don't compete with passion. They don't compete with commitment. They don't commit to wanting to advance to something else. They're not there. They're not there. There's no spirit. There's no passion. There's no drive. There's no identity. And I think you nailed it correctly. I think when you have all those problems, there's only so much the coach can do. Happened to Mourinho, happened to Nuno Espirito Santo, happened to Conte now, happened to Pochettino in his last season, has happened to the previous coach before Pochettino. It's an ongoing crisis. It's literally the history of Tottenham, as Conte put it. It's just that there is nothing that Conte said that was out of line. I think he nailed it perfectly when he called out the players and called them selfish, because there's a hefty list. I can name at least 10 players right now that I consider heavily selfish out of Tottenham. The problem is not the coach. The problem is not who you bring as enforcements. The problem is there's no identity, there's no spirit, there's no anything else to talk about Tottenham. When you think of Tottenham, yeah, you think of White Lane, you think of Dan Levy, being the owner. But what is the identity of Tottenham? I don't know if I consider them more of a top 4 team anymore. I don't know if I consider them part of the major 6, because out of the major 6, one can argue that there are 2 teams now that are heavily competing for that major 6 argument. I don't know. For me personally, when I look at the schedule, as a Manchester United fan, I know that we're facing Tottenham. They're not an easy team. They're not a heavy team to compete. They're a team that will give you a good run, but I don't know how to identify them. That's all. What do you think? I'm sure for you as a Liverpool fan, you got quite the views on that, because there's been a lot of targets that Liverpool has wanted to take that Tottenham has come from underneath and taken them, but has proven you Liverpool fans to be even more skeptical about wanting to sign those players.
Yeah, I mean, it's gotten to the point where we're looking here at what Antonio Conte really meant to this Tottenham team. And if you look at it based off their last 3 managers since Pochettino left, right? When you think about it and you're thinking ahead and all that stuff, they just never could get it going. They struggled to get back into the top 4. They could never figure it out. They're struggling to compete in leagues such as the Europa League and everything like that in these major European tournaments, because they didn't have the tactics. Yes, the players that they have brought in are definitely selfish. Just to name one off the top of the head, Richarlison, super selfish. Absolutely. He's been unbearable to watch sometimes since he has left Everton.
I'd argue differently, man. He was selfish as shit when he was in Everton. The only reason he wasn't as heavily selfish in Everton was because he still had 2 other people that, even without him, were still relevant.
Agree to disagree there, but I think for me, Tottenham's going to go right back to the mediocrity right now, unless they find another manager that can come in and step in and fill in like Conte did. Conte was the best thing that Tottenham has had since Pochettino.
Agreed.
It's just his style, his tactics, the way he gets his team motivated. I mean, also, you saw the wheels fall off a little bit once Hugo Lloris went down. Second Hugo Lloris went down, this team has completely changed. And quite honest, when you look at the table right now, they're sitting in 4th with 49 points. Newcastle's only 2 points behind them. Liverpool, Brighton, and Brentford are only 7 points behind them. I can easily see Tottenham slipping out of the top 4 and finishing at 6 or 7 now with 12 games left, or 10 games left, actually, because Liverpool and Newcastle still have 2 games at hand on them. But when we talk to Tottenham,
even Brighton has a chance of being top 4. Brighton's 3 games behind. That's 9 points. When you
That's
add
crazy,
it
man.
up, when you add it up, 9 points. That's 51 points they can make right now.
And now we're talking potential of who the next manager for Tottenham is. There have been some names that have been thrown around. What is your thought here?
I think for Tottenham, they need to stop going for these high-end coaches. Number one, for Tottenham in itself, you need a coach that, number one, you have patience for. Number two, that he has patience for. And then number three, that there is a large project involved for. So what do I mean by that? I mean coaches that are somewhat youthful to the point that they can clean out the locker room, because that locker room needs to be cleaned out. There's players that you need to get rid of at this point that are no longer working in this organization. They might be the marquee of your organization, but they need to go. So that's number one. Number two, you kind of need like a Graham Potter in an aspect for Tottenham to build an identity, but to build not only an identity, but a program that works and that is sustainable. Because if you continue to recycle through all these big names that you've been signing on, Ivan Perisic, Kulusevski, just to name a few, your age gap at this point is jumping from 25 to 38. At this point, you just invest in money, but it's not in a sustainable way. And number three, you need somebody that's not afraid to put the owners in their spot. So when I look at what Tottenham has done wrong, their first mistake was bringing Jose Mourinho so immediately soon after Mauricio Pochettino. I think there should have been a gap year with a somewhat of an average manager to allow for that process to finish on itself, and then to start brand new with Jose Mourinho. So I would not be afraid to put these players in their position and give them new energy. But unfortunately, with those players, it just didn't work out. The transition was a harsh transition. Then you go into a Nuno Espirito Santo that, quite frankly, probably the worst idea you could have came up with for Tottenham. He was not the right guy for Tottenham, not even at the right time. I think Conte was, like you said, the right guy. I think moving on from Conte, you need to look at guys like Marcelino would be a good choice. I think Luis Enrique would be a good choice as well. Somebody who's looking to have a new fire under their ass. That's Luis Enrique. He's not afraid to do that. You could look at Marcelo Gallardo, somebody who could be looking to bring youth and new aspirations to this team, but also have something that will continue to impulse his coaching career. Other than that, I mean, you could bring back Mauricio Pochettino. You could. If you're looking for the same success of maybe being at the top 5, top 10 for next year, bring Mauricio Pochettino back. He'll get that job done. That's not a problem for him. He's worked with all these players before. But other than that, I don't know. I'm not entirely sure that I would know of a better coach to bring in than the top three that I just mentioned: Marcelino, Luis Enrique, Marcelo Gallardo. I don't know that there's a better coach than those three. You kind of blew your chance. Once Antonio Conte leaves like that, I'm not entirely sure that even with the best signing, like potentially a Julian Nagelsmann to come in, that would be a good idea. I'm not entirely sure.
Speaking of Julian Nagelsmann getting let go by Bayern, was probably one of the weirdest moves I've seen in quite some time for managers.
Biggest
just to bring
shocker.
in Thomas Tuchel.
Yep, biggest shocker there was this past week. I still don't get it. I think it breaks the culture of Bayern Munich as well. I don't know. I really don't know.
Yeah, it just caught me by surprise. So I've liked the names that you mentioned so far. I think two more that I would throw in there. So obviously, you're bringing in, when you're talking these big names and stuff like that, you're automatically crossing a guy like Zinedine Zidane off your list, which I agree with 100%. I don't think he's a fit for them personally. But I think two guys that are kind of sweeping under the rug would be kind of a good fit for them. The first one is Thomas Frank, the Brentford manager. I think if he could establish a defensive-heavy culture like he has right now in Brentford, and he can have Harry Kane and Heung-min Son be the big goal guys up front, I think Tottenham could succeed, move out of just the top 6 and move back into the top 4. And I think another name for me is I'm going to completely fumble his last name. It's Ange Postecoglou from Celtic.
Yeah, I mean, the problem is that those two guys that you just mentioned, they're not, unfortunately for what Tottenham wants, they're not proven enough. That's the problem. For what Tottenham deserves at this point, I think they're somewhat of a good fit. But where Tottenham really needs to get to, I think Tottenham is 2 to 3 years behind of current day football.
Yeah, I know for sure.
I think the only other name that could potentially make sense, I've mentioned him in the past, and I think might be a good fit at Tottenham, is Ralph Rangnick.
Yeah, that'd be an interesting one.
That's the only other name that I think could make some sense. He's known Perisic very well. He knows what Harry Kane and Heung-min Son work like. He knows high pressing football. He knows how to clean out a house. He did that for Manchester United, did it to perfection. And he knows how to create a culture.
This is true.
And this is a guy that's not afraid to put people on blast. We've noticed that, and that's why the Glazers are looking to sell. They're embarrassed.
Mm-hmm. So we'll see what happens. I mean, you and I are going to mention all these great names, but at the end of the day, knowing Tottenham, if they're going to do a Nuno del Santo hire, their next manager is probably going to be Vincent Kompany.
But there's nothing wrong with that. Company has done a great job with Burnley.
Correct. And Nuno Santo did a great job with Wolverhampton. Just not a good fit for Tottenham.
He did, but you can't compare Wolverhampton to Tottenham just yet. You just can't.
No, that's not what I mean. I'm not saying that. I'm comparing the success that Nuno had at Wolverhampton compared to what Kompany has done at Burnley.
Kompany also comes from experience in coaching from top coaches. You know, he was under the Pep Guardiola regime of things. He was under Roberto Mancini for quite a while. Whether we like him or not, he also worked under Portugal's current coach. I don't know why I'm drawing a blank on his last name. I like him, but I don't know why I'm drawing a blank on his last name.
The Portugal head coach?
Yeah.
The current one?
Yeah.
I mean, the one that used to be the head coach of Belgium?
Which I'm glad he left, because now that you see how Portugal is playing, you can tell that he was not the problem for Belgium.
Roberto Martinez,
thank you. If you saw how Portugal played this past week, you know he was not the problem for Belgium. It was more than clear. I don't know what's going to happen for Tottenham. I feel terrible for the fans. This has not been anything that they signed up for. In fact, this has been a very vicious and poisonous roller coaster for these fans, for sure.
I know for sure. But we'll have to wait and see what happens with Tottenham. They got a game this weekend that we'll dive into. So let's dive into the slate of games for this weekend and then early part of next week. So we have, like Diego said, 136 and 127. 126 and 137. First one on the board. The fact that this is at 7:30 a.m. in the East Coast is an absolute crime. It's Manchester City hosting Liverpool.
I'm going on a limb here, and I'm going with Liverpool pulling the upset against Manchester City and holding them back on even getting close to that first spot. 2-1 Liverpool.
So I'm so indifferent on this game because yes, they've come and played in these big moments all year long, and I have to give them credit there. Correct?
Yeah.
But it's Manchester City. They're at Manchester City. They beat United, but they were at home. City's only lost one of their last 13 Premier League home games against Liverpool. They're 7-5-1. God, they've the only good thing for us is that Man City has yet to win 4 straight in 2022, 2023. So they're struggling a little bit there. Who's reffing? This is where I dive into the nitty-gritty. Who is reffing this weekend? Let's see. Magic 29. Who's reffing this most important game? Who do we think?
Probably Chris Kavanaugh.
Incorrect. It is Simon Hooper.
Yeah, that's not bad.
So Hooper, I'm gonna go with a 1-1 draw.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go 1-1 draw there. All right. Next, we have Arsenal and Leeds.
I just want to point out real quick before we move on to the next match. In the past 5 matches head-to-head between City and Liverpool, Liverpool has 3 wins over City. Manchester City has only won once and has drawn once in the last 5 matches. That's counting the EFL Cup, the Premier League, the Community Shield, and the FA Cup again.
Well, they also just beat them back in December.
Manchester City beat Liverpool in December, correct?
Yes.
That same exact team in December was also a team that was transitioning from injury to injury to injury to injury. And they still only lost 3-2.
Listen, I hope I'm wrong, man. I hope I'm wrong. But I did the same thing with United. I thought United would win, or I took the draw, and fucking Liverpool 7-0. So we'll see.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I'll get lucky. I will see 7-0 against City. It'll be even. All right, Arsenal and Leeds. I think Arsenal at home catches ground, especially if City is to lose out on potential points here. I'm going Arsenal 2-0.
Nice. I'm going Arsenal 1-0.
All right, Bournemouth and Fulham.
I got Fulham on this one, 2-0. Fulham is just looking good. So
yeah, they look good, but the thing is, Bournemouth also plays very, very tough at home. I'm not leaning to taking either side. I'm actually going to go with a 1-1 draw. Next, we have Brighton and Brentford.
It's Brighton at home. Brighton has been playing really good football. I know that there's not much of a difference between the two in the standing. However, Brighton at home is Brighton at home. 1-0 Brighton.
So we talked about Brentford and how they're defensively just one of the better teams in the Prem. Brighton's such a heavy favorite here. I'm actually going to go with a 2-2 draw. I never do that. I never pull a Diego 2-2 draw, but I'm pulling one here.
All right.
Crystal Palace and Leicester.
This is where I see my 2-2 draw. One team is in transition, as also Patrick Vieira was sacked on that last week's episode, as we mentioned. And right as we released that, one name that we did not want coming back to Crystal Palace is the name that's coming back. Roy Hodgson is back at the Palace. 2-2 draw against Leicester City.
I think Roy Hodgson's going to make us eat our words. I think Palace squeaks out 2-1.
God, I hope so.
Nottingham Forest and Wolverhampton. This is the Chris Kavanaugh game.
Okay, so it's a draw. So I predicted it right. It's a 1-1 draw.
I had Nottingham Forest winning 2-0 here. I think they're going to get back on track. They have too many talented pieces to not be winning games, especially against teams like Wolves right now. Give me them to win 2-0.
All right.
Chelsea and Aston Villa.
With Chelsea, honestly, I'm just not that hopeful anymore. Yeah, they've been on a winning streak lately, but I don't see consistency there just yet. I'm going with a 1-1 draw against Villa.
That's 3 straight draws for Diego. Just
Mhm.
let the record show. As somebody who also already has 3 draws on the board, I'm going to agree. Different score. I'm going to go 0-0. I don't think a goal gets scored in this game.
I was gonna go with that too, but I chose 1-1.
Good. West Ham and Southampton.
This is where I see West Ham still trying to survive a little bit, and Mr. David Moyes staying afloat. I'm going 2-1 West Ham.
The second you said this is where I see West Ham doing what they can to stay afloat, I literally looked at myself and I automatically already wrote your score down of 2-1 before you even said it because I also have West Ham winning 2-1.
Nice, I like it.
Newcastle and Manchester United.
It is a Newcastle. Manchester United still trying to do whatever they can to hold on to that third spot. Where Newcastle has kind of been in an inconsistency run here, I'm going with a 2-1 United victory.
Man United.
Yep.
I'm gonna go with a 1-1 draw. Newcastle at home, they love a good old draw at home. They'll do what they can to get a point. They have 11 draws on the season.
The
They've won
problem
those
with
3 games. They've
yeah,
won those 3 games, but they have 11 draws.
so the only problem that I have there for Newcastle though is consistently past the past 5 games, they've struggled so hard in that second half to maintain physicality that is where United unfortunately thrives. That second half is what they've survived all season long on. That's why I see the 2-1 happening.
Except for that one game against Liverpool. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, fuck you.
I had to get it in there once. It's been a while. Everton and Tottenham.
I see Everton winning this one 1-0, especially with Sean Dyche taking advantage of the fact that Tottenham is going with their backup coach. We know how good Sean Dyche can be under those circumstances. It's at home, 1-0 Everton.
I'm going 2-1. 2-1 Everton. Agreed with you. No Hugo Lloris and Sean Dyche is at home, so I'll take them to win 2-1. All right, slicking into the Tuesday slate a little bit here.
Mm-hmm.
Bournemouth and Brighton.
2-1 Brighton. Brighton's really good at away. Bournemouth is one of those teams that's really not that consistent when it comes to home games. So 2-1 Brighton.
I have the same score, but different way, man. I'm gonna ride with Bournemouth here at home. I think, yeah, they're inconsistent, but usually in a bigger environment like this, where they play a team that's in the top of the table, they usually play better at home. So I'm gonna go with them 2-1. Leeds and Nottingham Forest.
I don't see much of a difference between these two teams. I think the unfortunate part for Nottingham Forest is they have good pieces and all. They just can't seem to find their rhythm. I'm going 1-1 draw.
Son of a bitch. 1-1 draw as well. Like I said, like Diego said, not much different there. I think Nottingham Forest has the better goalie, but I don't think their offense is going to be able to do enough against that very talented Leeds defensive side at home. 1-1 draw. Leicester City hosting Aston Villa.
It's Leicester City at home with Aston Villa still running through some inconsistencies. I'm going 1-0 Leicester.
I'm going to go 2-1 Villa here. I know Leicester at home, King Power Stadium, always teams have issues there, but I think Aston Villa with their inconsistency, this is going to be one of their games where they're consistent enough. 2-1 Aston Villa. Chelsea hosting Liverpool.
Again, Chelsea just doesn't give me much of anything to hope for them. Liverpool, on the other hand, they're on a revenge tour right now to try and get on top 4. I'm going 3-1 Liverpool.
I just don't think Chelsea is going to have enough manpower to to hang with Liverpool. I know they're at home. Keep it a little closer than you. I'm going to go 2-0. West Ham and Newcastle.
I got West Ham on this one, 1-0.
I have same score, different way. I like Newcastle on the road here. I think West Ham will play them tough, and Newcastle will sneak one in.
All right.
And the final game on the slate, United and Brentford.
It is United at home. United is up against the wall. They need to continue to stay on the top three if they want any hopes for Champions League. Brentford has always been a pest against top six teams. I'm going 2-1 United.
You and I think so much alike. It's scary sometimes. I've United 2-1 for literally the same exact reasons that Diego said. Back up against the wall. They want to stay in Champions League for next year. 2-1. All right, let's go over. We had two different matches of qualifiers per team. Let's look through the tables here. Some team played 2 games, some teams played 1. Happens. But so for starters in Group A, we had the Scottish winning 2 games. They won both their games. They beat. Who did they beat? They beat Cyprus 3-0.
Mm-hmm.
And then they played a very young, very talented Spain team in Glasgow and beat them 2-0 there. I thought Scotty McTominay had both of those goals in that game. One in the first half in the first 10 minutes and the other one in the first 10 minutes of the second half. Scotland could surprisingly be a team that comes out of Group A. So Group A, it's Scotland, Spain, Norway, Georgia, and Cyprus. I think Scotland and Spain are the 2 that come out of there. Do you agree, or do you see Norway?
No, I see Scotland and Spain as well.
Okay. Group B, we have France, who went 2-0 in their group stage. They beat the Republic of Ireland 1-0, and then they beat the Netherlands 4-0. Made the Netherlands look real bad. But right now we have France, Greece, Netherlands, Republic of Ireland, and Gibraltar. So France obviously is definitely a lock. Do you think the Netherlands is a lock for the Euro, or do you think a team like Greece or the Republic of Ireland has a chance to upset them there?
I'm going with France and Greece.
France and Greece?
Yeah.
Okay. I like this Greece team. Greece beat Greece drew with Lithuania. Right? No, wait. No, that was a friendly. Who did they beat? Oh, they beat Gibraltar 3-0. That's what it was.
Mm-hmm.
So they drew with Lithuania recent Monday in a friendly, but they played Gibraltar and beat them 3-0. I think Greece can get the wins over the Republic of Ireland and Gibraltar. I need to see how they do against France and the Netherlands before I pick them. I'm going to go France and the Netherlands to move on from there.
Okay.
Group C, we had England, Italy, North Macedonia, Ukraine, and Malta. Italy obviously lost to England 2-1 in that game, and then they came back and they beat Malta 2-0. They have a big one coming up. The 15th, they have the Nations League finals against Spain, June 15th, 2:45 Eastern time there. So that'll be good for them. Also in September, they have a big rematch against North Macedonia, who knocked them out of playing in the World Cup. So they're going to have a chip on their shoulder for that game. England's definitely a lock. Do you think Italy solidifies themselves as the 2 there?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Me too. Group D, we got Wales, Croatia, Turkey, Armenia, and Latvia. Wales and Croatia, the top right now, both with 4 points. Turkey right behind them with 3. Armenia and Latvia both 0-1 through 2 games. What do we think there?
I agree. Just Wales and
Croatia?
Croatia. Thank you. Yes. Sorry, I'm updating Twitter like crazy because there's now rumors that Brendan Rodgers could be looking to take the job at Tottenham, which would be huge move for both ends of this.
Wouldn't be huge for Liverpool, but yeah, I agree. Group E, right now in front, we have the Czech Republic, who my friend is coming off a big 3-1 victory over Poland this past week. Poland's still sitting at second, though. Moldova, the Faroe Islands, and Albania. Poland's obviously making it. What do we think? Do we think Czech Republic? Do we think a team like Albania sneaks in? Moldova? I don't even want to bring up the Faroe Islands again.
I'm not entirely sure that we should be saying that Poland it's a lock. I'd say definitely Czech Republic it is a lock. But I almost want to say I would not sleep so much on the Albanians yet.
I think Czech and Poland stay there, and I think they move on. All right, Group F: Austria, Belgium, Sweden, Estonia, and Azerbaijan.
Yeah.
Azerbaijan.
Yeah.
So Austria's 2-0, Sweden's 1-0-1, Belgium's 1-0-0. They won 3-0 against Sweden. So I think Belgium's making it. Do you think Australia or Sweden out of that one?
Isn't it Austria?
I said Austria.
I thought you said Australia. I'm sorry.
No, I might have by accident, but I meant Austria.
I'm going with Austria, and I'm not going with Belgium just yet. Belgium still needs some refining to do. So I'm gonna go with Austria and Sweden on that one.
I'm gonna go Belgium and Sweden. I think Austria takes a step back later on in the group stage.
Okay.
Group G: Serbia, Hungary, Montenegro, Lithuania, and Bulgaria. Serbia won 2 games. They beat Montenegro 2-0, and they beat Lithuania 2-0 in their European qualifiers. What are we thinking here? Because I really like this Serbian team, but I also kind of like this Montenegro team to move on.
Okay, so who do we got again?
Serbia, Hungary, Montenegro, Lithuania, and Bulgaria.
I'm going with Serbia, and I'm going with Hungary.
I'm not counting Hungary out. They won 3-0 in their first match against Bulgaria. However, I do really, really, really like this Montenegro team. I'm hoping that they make it.
Be nice, yeah.
All right, Group H. This is a fun group, Diego. Slovenia, Denmark, Kazakhstan, Finland, Northern Ireland, and San Marino. Slovakia 2-0. They won 2-0 against San Marino, and then they won 2-1. They squeaked one out against Kazakhstan. But Kazakhstan beat Denmark 3-2 over the weekend, which I thought was a hell of a game from start to finish there. So what do we think? Who are the two teams moving on here?
I got Denmark for sure. The second one, that second one is a little hard to come up with.
I'm personally pulling for Kazakhstan.
I like Kazakhstan too. Remind me the other 4 choices.
Slovenia, Finland, Northern Ireland, and San Marino.
I don't like Slovenia as well, though. So let's go with Denmark, Slovenia.
Okay. Group I: Switzerland, Romania, Kosovo, Andorra, Israel, and Belarus.
Definitely
Switzerland's going to run away with it.
Yep.
And who do we want for the other leg?
It's a curious one, actually, because that's a weird group, but I feel like everyone still has potential. Who are you going with personally?
Swiss, and I think I'm going to jump on the Andorra train.
See, I was thinking the same. I kind of like Andorra on this one. Yeah, you know what? I'll go with that. I'll go with the same.
All right, and the last group, Group J: Portugal, Slovakia, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Iceland, Luxembourg, and Liechtenstein. Portugal, we keep 100%. They beat Luxembourg 6-0. Then they won 4-0 against Liechtenstein, I believe. Yeah. So we keep them. Bosnia, I can get behind. Iceland, I can get behind. Slovakia, not so much, I don't think.
No, I'm going with Portugal and Iceland on this one. I still really like what Iceland has done before. And I think this is part 2 of their story. So I'm going
They also
with
just beat
Portugal and Iceland.
Liechtenstein 7-0.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the next qualifiers for those are June 16th through the 20th. Some good matchups coming from there. Just to name a couple, we're going to see Finland and Slovenia. We're going to see Belgium and Austria, Iceland, Slovakia, Portugal, and Bosnia. We're going to see France and Greece, which is something Diego and I probably would like to watch together at some point.
Mm.
Turkey and Wales will be a good one. Switzerland and Romania, Slovenia and Denmark. Portugal and Iceland will be good. And then the last one I really, really wanted to watch was Austria and Sweden out of those. All right, so that does that. Any other thoughts for tonight?
No, I mean, it's kind of interesting to see the relegation zone right now in the Premier League. There's a lot at stake.
Oh yeah.
This is one of the most interesting relegation battles that there's been ever since the 03-04 relegation battle, when it was Blackburn and a bunch of others that literally there were about
legitimately anybody from 12 and down could get relegated still.
Yeah, there was about 8 teams in that season that could have gotten relegated. And
so right now, from 20 to 12, they're separated by 4 points.
Mm-hmm.
Southampton,
scary part.
Southampton, Bournemouth, West Ham. So Southampton 23 points, Bournemouth and West Ham 24, Leicester 25, Nottingham Forest and Everton and Leeds 26, and then Wolves and Crystal Palace 27. But also one of the cooler things in the the EFL, we have Burnley is definitely a lock to come back up. They've only lost 2 games this year. They played phenomenally. Sheffield United is currently on the way up. It looks like they're 3 games back. 3 points ahead of a team like Middlesbrough. But Middlesbrough, Luton Town, Blackburn, and Millwall all competing. They still have Watford, West Brom, Coventry City, Norwich City, all within contentions. They got 10 games left. They played 48 games. They got 10 games left still in the schedule. I mean, Sunderland's not that far behind. They're only 7 points back. Preston North End is still alive as well. So it's going to be curious to see how the last 10 games play out for the EFL too before we get the playoff for that third team that comes up.
Also, huge shout out to Michael Carrick. He took Middlesbrough from bottom of the table, and they're now on the way up to literally go back up to the Prem.
Potentially.
Which wasn't even in the cards for Middlesbrough this year. They weren't even hoping to get back in the Prem this year.
No. Fun fact, actually, you ready for this? They've scored the second most goals in the EFL, 69.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which is crazy to me. But hey, listen, anything can happen, man. I wouldn't hate seeing a team like Millwall come up just to see someone that hasn't been up in the Prem.
Yeah.
So we'll have to wait and see with that. But that does it for me. Is that you good?
Yes, sir. That does it for me as well. Until next week, season 20 wraps up here. So always make sure to follow us on Twitter at Podcast Card, on TikTok at Yellow Card Pod. I know we've been slacking on content. We'll get back to it. We promise. On YouTube, on Spotify. Up until episode 21. We'll be back soon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you all, as always, for your support. And as always, have a great weekend. Be safe. Have fun out there.